Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to be talking about solving by factoring. So you guys are going to need your notes, just your notebook, not the foldable anymore, a pen and or pencil, and a calculator, please. All right, your learning target, so make sure you get this down, is that I can solve by factoring. So we're going to solve for our variable. Zero product property. All right. You guys, you don't have to write this part down, okay? Don't have to write this part down. In words, the zero product property is if the product of two expressions is zero, then one or both of the expressions equals zero. In algebraic terms, if A and B are expressions, then A times B, then A equals zero or B equals zero. And our last one, just an example. If I have the expression x plus 5 times the expression x plus 2 equals 0, then either x plus 5 has to equal 0 or x plus 2 has to equal 0. That is, x is going to equal a negative 5 or x is going to equal a negative 2. So we're going to do 3 examples today, and you have to write all 3 of these examples down. We're going to be factoring and then solving. So here's example number 1 that I'd like you to get down, please. All right, first thing we have to do is factor it. So if I'm going to factor this, I have A equals 1, B equals 9, C equals 14. And I have to take my A times my C, and that number, we have to find something that adds up to our B. So I have 1 times 14, which is 14. Now, what number adds together to equal 9? So factors of 14, we have 1 and 14 and 2 and 7. Well, 2 plus 7 equals 9, so we're going to have our 2 and our 7. This is going to replace my 9x here. So when I rewrite this, I have x squared plus 7x plus 2x plus 14 equals 0. So we're adding that equals 0 on. That's the only thing we're doing different. Now we have to group it. So I have my first group and my second group. Greatest common factor in my first group is just an x. So if I take that out in front, I'm going to be left with x plus 7. In my second group, my greatest common factor is a positive 2. So put that out in front, my plus 2, and I have x plus 7 left over when I simplify. And this is still going to be equal to 0. Now, my greatest common factor between these two is x plus 7. So I can take that out and put that out in front. I have x plus 7, and then I'm going to use what's left over. I have an x and this positive 2, so I have x plus 2, and this equals 0. So this is nothing new. This is what we've already been doing, factoring our trinomials. Now we're just going to solve them. So I'm going to set both of these equal to 0. So I have x plus 7 equals 0, or I have x plus 2 equals 0. We're just going to solve both of them. So this one I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. So I'm going to get x equals negative 7. Or if I solve my other problem, I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. And x equals negative 2. So these are my two answers, ladies and gentlemen. I'm either going to have my x be a negative 7 or my x will be a negative 2. All right, there's example number 1. Moving on to example number 2. Here we go. On example number 2, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to factor completely. If we look at this trinomial, before we're going to start doing our AC method, we have to take out a greatest common factor. In this case, our greatest common factor is 2. So I'm going to take that out of everything. So I have 2 out in front. I'm left with 2x squared plus 11x plus 5 equals 0. Now I have to do the same thing. I need my a, b, and c. My a equals 2. My b equals 11. My c equals 5. A times c, that adds up to b. So I have 2 times 5, which is 10. Sorry. 2 numbers that add up to 11. So in this case, our two numbers are just going to be 1 and 10. So this is going to replace my 11x right here. So we're going to rewrite this problem. So I have into 4, so we can use our grouping. So I have 2. I have 2x squared. Now I'm replacing my 11x with plus 1x plus 10x, which is still 11, plus, I'm going to keep my 5 at the end, and this still equals 0. Okay, we have to make sure that we don't forget about that 2, okay, that super annoying little brother or sister. We got to bring them with. All right, now we're going to work on our grouping. So group my first 2 together and my second 2 together. All right, I'm going to keep my 2 out in front. I'm going to make a little bracket so it doesn't get as confusing. What I can take out of my first group is just x. So I have x out in front, and I'm left with 2x plus 1. In my second set, I can take out a positive 5 out of both of these, so I have plus 5. I'm left with 2x plus 1, and it still equals 0. Now that I have this done, I can go through and I can take out my common factor, which is 2x plus 1. Put that out in front. Can't forget about my 2 though, so I'm going to have 2, and I'm going to have 2x plus 1, and then I'm going to write what I have left over. In this case, I have a positive 5 and an x, so I have x plus 5, and this is still going to equal 0. So now I have it factored out. Now I'm just going to solve it. My first one I'm going to put together, I'm going to keep my 2 with my first factor, so I have 2x plus 1 equals 0. My other one I have is x plus 5 equals 0. If I solve my first one, we can either distribute or we can just divide by 2. I'm just going to divide both sides by 2 to get rid of this 2 out front. I'm going to get 2x plus 1 equals 0. Now I'm going to solve this for x, so I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides. So I get 2x equals negative 1. Now to solve this one out, just divide by 2. So for my first one, I have x equals negative 1/2. So that's one of my solutions I could have. My other one, I'm going to come over here, get x by itself, subtract 5 from both sides, so x equals negative 5. So x is either going to equal negative 1/2 or negative 5. All right, ladies and gentlemen, moving on to our last example for the day. If we look at this one, it's written a little bit different. We have to put it in standard form first, which means we have to have it set equal to 0. Also, when I think about standard form, you guys, I always like whatever my first number, that x squared, I like that always to be positive. So for me, when I'm getting this equal to 0, I'm going to subtract 9x on both sides, and I'm going to add 8 on both sides. So these over here are going to cancel, and I'm going to get 0 equals x squared minus 9x plus 8. Now once we have that done, we can talk about our AC method. So A equals 1, B equals negative 9, C equals 8. Take A times C adds up to B. 1 times 8, which is 8. I need 2 factors that adds up to equal negative 9. Now, my number I'm starting with is a positive 8. So in order to keep it positive when I multiply, I either have to take 2 numbers that are positive and multiply them together, or take 2 numbers that are negative and multiply them together. Since I want a negative 9, I'm going to have 2 negative numbers. So the factors that are going to add up to negative 9 that multiply to be equal 8 are negative 8 and negative 1. Because if I multiply them, I get a positive, but when I add them, I get that negative 9. So this is what we're going to replace our negative 9x with. So when I rewrite this, I have 0 equals x squared minus 8x minus 1x plus 8. Now I can use my grouping method. So my first group is going to be right here. 0 equals, I can take an x out of both of those. So I have x out in front, and then I'm left with x minus 8. My second grouping, I have this negative 1 out front. Remember, we want our first number in our parentheses to be positive, so I'm going to take out that negative 1. So that's what I'm taking out is a negative 1. So I'm going to be left with x. This now is going to become a negative 8. So there I factored out both of those for grouping. Now I can factor out an x minus 8 for both. We're going to put that out in front. We have our x minus 8, and then we're going to have what we have left over. So we have an x and a negative 1. So my next one's going to be x minus 1. Now that I have my two factors, I can set them equal to 0. So I have x minus 8 equals 0, or I can have x minus 1 equals 0. Solve both of these. This one I'm just going to add 8 to both sides. So x equals 8. Or if I saw my other one, I add 1 to both sides, and x equals 1. So my answer for this one will be either 8 or 1. All right, wonderful people. This is all that I have for you today. I hope you go out and enjoy the day, and I will be seeing you soon. All right, bye-bye.